Hello everyone, and this is I Am Alive. Now this game is a new arcade game that just dropped for the Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network on Tuesday. I believe that was March 7th. It dropped Wednesday, March 7th. Sorry. And yeah, it's actually a really big hit so far. I'm in love with it. I don't know about other people, but I know IGN gave it, I believe, an 8 or a 4.5, either or. I don't remember how they rate the things like that. But it's basically a survival game. The basic storyline is that an unnamed man in the fictional American city of Haventon, 1 year after the event, which was a worldwide cataclysmic event that wiped out most of the human civilization and left the world in ruins and barely livable. Basically, you run around as this man you can see on the screen here, and you're trying to find your daughter and wife, which is a seemingly hopeless search, basically because first you search their home, your original home, and you don't find them there, so then now you're just on an aimless wander through a haze of thick dust for clues on their whereabouts. The basic premise before that is that you flew, I guess, across the country right before the cataclysmic event happened, so that then you're now traveling back to Haventon in an attempt to find your wife and daughter. So that's the basic premise. Now let's talk a little bit about the climbing system in this game, which I think is really, really good. You can see on the screen up there I have that little gray bar, and that shows how much stamina I have, and as I climb I lose stamina slowly, and doing things like jumping up to another ledge that's too high to be able to grab takes a lot of stamina, so that you then have to regain your stamina by resting, and you can put down things called pythons while climbing, and those will provide a resting point, but you can't take them back out, and you can only find them in the environment every once in a while. So the climbing system is really good. Sometimes it's really tricky, and when you run out of that gray bar, you run out of your amount of stamina, and that gray bar will decrease until eventually you can't have any stamina anymore, and when that happens, then you can't then you'll fall and you die. And dying in this game is really tricky, because the way they did it is that you get things called retries, which are actually like little cameras you can pick up in the world, or cameras that you can receive by rescuing people, which I will talk about rescues later in the game, or later in this. But basically so basically you have these retries, and that makes you go to the checkpoint, and you can only use the amount that you have, and you use one up every time you use a retry. Whereas if you are you can restart at the beginning of the chapter, which sometimes can be like a setback of like 20 to 30 minutes, so that's a really big leap, and it's really tricky. The next thing I want to talk about is combat, which you can see on the screen right here. It is really, I think the way they made it is really good. You have the people, like, you can intimidate them with your weapon, and that will make them, they'll put their hands up. The guys with guns will never be intimidated, so you always have to target them first, but sometimes they don't come at you first, and sometimes you don't have ammo in the middle of a fight. Later on in the game you get a bow and arrow, which are really helpful, because then you can intimidate them and then quick switch to your bow and shoot them, and then quick switch back to your pistol and intimidate another person, go over to the guy that you killed while making the other people back up, and then pick up your arrow. Another nice thing is you can make them back up to like a hole, and then you can kick them off the hole. And see, as you watch this, you can see that I pick up those random little resources around, and those are really helpful. I am playing on the survivor difficulty, which is harder than normal. There's normal or survivor, which just means the enemies do more damage, and I find less resources in the world and probably receive less in certain parts of the campaign and such. So the environment is really similar to Fallout, if you ask me. It's really post-apocalyptic, like everything's broken, except for you get these people that will chase after you like this and such, and you know, it's more of a climbing game than it is anything else. But it is really cool. And then here I'm going to show you a rescue and what you receive for the rescue. As you can see, I'm in a desolate building searching for actually someone's mother, and I help her out by giving her one of my med kits, which are very valuable, by the way. Almost heal you full if you're almost dead. But you see it gives me another retry right there, and it looks like a little camera. Basically that's what that is, and it gives you a retry. And overall, I'd have to rate this game probably a 5 out of 5 because it's really good. So go pick it up and look for the next This Is.